Perhaps, right, knowing that the developers are aware that the upcoming supply will be few and far between, why would they still pricing it so attractively? So, as usual, right, we start with the latest piece of news in the last month, and we don't have to go too far. Just over the weekend, we had the AMO Residences launch. For those of you who follow the channel, we have already done a review on AMO Residences. We're going to put that link into the description for you. And for those of you watching the replay, we'll plug it into the description. So, 98% sold, right? With an average price of 2,100 PSF. Is that out of my expectations? Okay, 98% to be honest was more than what I expected it to be. I was sharing with my clients, colleagues, friends. I expected it to be about 75% to 80%, but 98%. It's quite surprising, and I guess I put that down to that the developers have priced them quite well, contrary to what I believed them to be able to price at lah. Because with I think it was about 1,400 checks submitted, and the demand being so strong. To be honest, if I were in UOL's shoes, and knowing that upcoming supply will be few and far between, I would have perhaps taken a gamble to raise the prices a little bit higher than that, because if we really look at and that's the word on the streets with all the feedback that I've gathered, that 2,100 PSF, of course, for those people who are not following the market or not looking to buy, you will definitely feel that 2,100 PSF in the OCI in Ang Mo Kio, it's nuts. But for those who follow or those who are looking to buy in the area, the feedback is that 2,100 PSF is quite fair, because the resale in that area, if you really look at it, especially if you are looking at slightly larger units for own stay, we have Thomson Impressions, 1,000 square feet is already touching $2 million, which is close to 1,900, 2,000 PSF. So a brand new unit, 2,100 PSF, it's reasonable, okay? Putting things into perspective, right? But okay, so that's that, right? That's my reaction to the AMO Residences results. But maybe what would be more interesting, or what would be a better, nicer, interesting value add to the followers and the listeners is, perhaps, right, knowing that the developers are aware that the upcoming supply will be few and far between, why would they still pricing it so attractively? Because their break-even price is there about 1,800 PSF, but they've only sold it at 2,100, which is about 10%, and considering the high construction costs and whatnot, high interest rates, that profit margin is very, very low in my opinion. Couple of guesses, right? Different ways you can look at it. Some people will say they are scared of Lentor Modern that's gonna come up, right, in about a month's time with Guacoland. They probably don't want to challenge or to fight with Guacoland, albeit the fact that Lentor Modern is a little bit further up, but you know, it being a mixed-use development and whatnot. Another way to look at it, which is how I see it, is that I think UOL wants to just move this development along. They got that piece of land after going through quite a competitive tender with 15 bidders. They probably are looking to just move this particular plot, free up their cash and whatnot, and maybe, right, explore some of the upcoming GLS or maybe some en blocs, right? Because of the 2018 cooling measures have really brought down the number of bidders for GLS, and also brought down so there's more en blocs being put on the market than en blocs being bought. So actually, as a developer, they are in quite a favorable position on that note. Of course, bearing in mind the kind of cooling measures that they have to deal with, rising interest rates, high construction costs and whatnot. That aside, on the sheer demand-supply side factor, I think if I were the developer, right, maybe I say, this one, you know, can sell, we just sell, then we move on to the next one. Maybe I go for a slightly bigger plot, maybe even a en bloc, right? Slightly bigger development lah, right? So that's that on that perspective. Pardon me for the other article, right, which is today's article. I think that is maybe a little bit more interesting also, right? Because, right, 98%, so what's done is done. The buying frenzy at AMO Residences ups the ante on whether more property cooling measures are needed. And that is it's perhaps the first time we've seen this come up. And it's so soon after the last round of cooling measures, because the last round of cooling measures was just in December. We are 7 months out on the back of a lot of uncertainty in the market with the looming recession, with rising interest rates. But very naturally, a 98% take-up rate at the launch. And this 98%, I don't even think we had a percentage this high even in the 2017-2018 rush, right before the 2018 cooling measures. So 98% understandably would raise some concerns about the potential cooling measures. But do I think that is gonna happen? We really have to see. For those who follow the channel, a key indicator that I look at is the number of bidders for the GLS plots, okay? Because if you take a look back, right before the December 2021 cooling measures, one good example is AMO. The number of bidders were 15. It dropped to, I believe, if I remember correctly, about 5 for Pine Grove and 2 for Dunman Road right after the GLS, right after the last round of cooling measures. So, you know, in the next round, right, a key indicator I will look at really is the number of bidders for those plots, because yes, 98% bought 372 units. The government will look at a wider picture. They will look at bigger data points on this, because what we do sense in the market is that maybe the resale volumes, and it's also shown on the newspapers, that the resale volumes are not spiking as much as this, right? So if it's a one-off kind of thing, right, maybe it will be okay. But, you know, let's say we have Lentor Modern coming up, I believe it's 700 to 800 units. That one, again, 98% sold out, and the resale market starts picking up. The thing is, because of the lack of supply of new launches, the property price index would not appear to spike extremely crazily, but it may seem to spike, especially in the OCR. If we look at the data for Q2, Q3, alright, it will look like it spikes because we have Lentor Modern and AMO really setting the benchmark prices. So I really can predict Q4 when they release the property price index for Q2, Q3, right, it will look like it spiked because of this particular case. But do I think cooling measures will come? Honestly, no. But word on the street is that some of the people are concerned that the government may adjust the interest rate that they use to calculate TDSR. And on that, right, maybe that will happen, especially if interest rates start to touch that 3.5% tolerance rate, or the 3.5% that the government has plugged into the formula to sort of safeguard the population from over-leveraging themselves. If the market rises above 3.5, they will be forced to change that. And it does have quite a big impact if the government were to change the current 3.5% interest rate that they utilize to calculate your TDSR, hence your loan quantums. If that is adjusted up to 4.5%, I did a rough calculation, it will translate to almost a $200,000 drop if you are 30-year-old. I believe if you are 30-year-old and able to take currently a $1.6 million loan that would drop down to $1.4 million loan over 30 years. So that will impact the market quite a bit. But you know, I wouldn't want to be in the positions of the policy makers right now, because first of all, how do you decide on doing something like that when nobody knows if this increase in interest rates is going to be long-term or short-term? While everybody says it's going to be short-term, and then if it is short-term, I don't think they will really want to change the TDSR, because then if they were to then adjust it down again, then that's going to be a huge pain for the financial institutions. Okay, and lastly, of course, before I go, or before I move to the next point, interesting note is that I honestly feel that $6 million 2,400 PSF penthouse, I believe it's 6 bedrooms, is a good deal. A lot of you may say I'm nuts. A lot of you may say, hey, 6 million you can buy a landed in the area, but you will not be able to buy a landed that offer you 6 bedrooms. That's obviously the first thing. And you know why I sort of like that particular penthouse is that it's going to offer you the kind of privacy that a landed property cannot offer you. Even if you do buy a landed property, there are quite a number of other landed property that is comparable to yours. Okay, while albeit every single one has its own little unique attributes, but this particular penthouse will stand out from the rest. It's going to be one of a kind. Of course, it would not be an easy sell moving forward, but it gives you the flexibility to sort of decide what's the kind of price you want to sell, when you want to sell in the future. So I'm going to put it out there that I feel that as crazy as it sounds, it looks like a good deal to me.